I'm Corey, and my co-lead is Nicole. Today we will be speaking with Miss Jen Todd Gray of Hello World. Just as some initial guidelines, we'd like to ask that everybody turn their audio and camera off unless you're answering a question. And once you're finished answering your question, please be sure to turn your audio off so we don't hear any background noise or anything, because it can get a little loud. And if anybody wishes to contribute to a question, please just personally message either myself or Nicole so that we can get you in on something. We can probably take 2 or 3 people per question, depending on who wants to. So, Nicole, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah. Well, first, we'd like to welcome Jen Todd Gray to our conversation. And I just want to ask if we can refer you as Jen, if that is okay with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. And then also, is it okay if we record your call just for internal purposes only?
Sure. No problem.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm just going to give a brief bio on Miss Jen. So everyone, today we have the privilege of conversing with Miss Jen Todd Gray, who is the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Creative Services at Hello World, one of the largest independent digital marketing solution companies in the United States. Prior to working at Hello World, Jen was a managing producer of Oprah.com, the Oprah Magazine, and Oprah's Book Club. Jen also in her career has an interactive producer for some of the first interactive content for MSN Entertainment. Today, Jen heads the creative sides of Hello World, both developing go-to marketing strategies and managing the creative teams that run client campaigns.
Excellent. So, Jen, if you don't mind, we're going to begin asking our questions to you. So,
Sure thing.
Based on your biography that we read on your Hello World page, I noticed that you said you obtained your first job when you were just at the young age of 15. So when I saw that, I just thought, do you believe that starting at such a young age working is beneficial and will further a millennial's success in today's world? And do you think that because you started at such a young age, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling on my words, that you started at such a young age that it helped you further your career in general?
You know, I think that whether it's you're working to be paid or just having responsibility, you know, I think my parents always taught me you need to work hard and apply yourself to do well in life. And I think that can happen whether you have a job or not. Yeah, from a very young age, even having responsibilities around the house or being involved in school groups and activities and applying yourself and challenging yourself to do that, you know, and just having responsibilities. So I think that can come as part of a job, but it also can come from other areas of your life. And, you know, as you expose yourself to different things, you learn different skill sets. And I think you learn the types of things you want to do and you don't want to do in your life by trying different jobs or different organizations.
Excellent. And just a follow-up question from that.
Sure.
Do you feel as though there was a specific job that you held at a young age that started the interest that you do have in media and marketing and everything? Do you think that something early on in your life started that interest?
Well, I think my very first job, I helped my father was an orthodontist and my mom was a dental hygienist, and I helped in his office and developed x-rays, and I quickly learned I didn't want to put my hands in people's mouths for a living. So again, I learned what I didn't want to do, but I always was a creative person, and I loved music and the arts and kind of using my brain and my hands and being creative. And I think that's where, you know, you just try different things and learn from them. And I don't know if it was one particular thing, but I think being involved in music and art and things like that helped me determine that, wow, I could make a living doing creative things, right? And it applies in many areas of business.
That's great, because I feel like sometimes people get stuck in that mindset that they need a job where it doesn't matter if they're using their creative abilities and more that they're just obtaining something material in the end. I really appreciate that you had from such a young age too, such a like distinct mindset that you wanted to focus on your interests and your creative passions. I think that's wonderful.
Well, and I think, you know, we all spend so much of our lives working for a living, and, you know, making a living is important, and knowing what kind of lifestyle you want and what type of careers may get you there. But you're more successful in life when you're doing the things that you like, right? I mean, we spend a lot of our waking hours working and even creating families in our workplace, and so you got to like what you're doing, or it wouldn't be fun, you know?
Absolutely. So. I completely agree. Okay, Nicole, do you want to take the next question?
All right, and then for our next question, we wanted to ask you, how did your college experience prepare you for the workforce? And also, what advice would you give millennials who are about to graduate, that are about to enter into the workforce?
So again, I think college is about trying new things, like learning to apply yourself. You know, I went to school for communications and television production, and I quickly learned, I'm going to date myself here, but I quickly learned like the internet was starting to come to be, and like we didn't even have email when I started college. And so we started to do some interactive things at the end of school when I thought I was going to be in television production, right? So I think what college teaches you is you always have to be learning in life, right? Because you never know how your industry is going to change, or you have to be able to be flexible and be able to pivot in your next job, right? Everything builds upon itself, and I think, you know, when I was in college, I thought this is the exact career path I'm going to be on. This is my first job and this is my second job, and it doesn't happen that way. And it's actually a lot more exciting than that, right? So I would focus on what is your next step and what do you want to do in your career, and make sure, you know, you're taking courses and things in college that prepare you for that. I think it sounds like a lot of you, some may be graduating soon, but I did a ton of internships in college, and I think that getting practical experience in life is very important. Most of my internships were not paid. I just found the places I wanted to work, and I said, can you please let me work here because I'm really excited about this, and this is what I can contribute to your company. Even when I graduated from college, the entertainment industry isn't one where, you know, they come to school in the career placement services and, you know, recruit. I actually had to get an internship after I graduated from college as well. So that's how I got my first job, but I interned on the Bill Nye the Science Guy show. They were looking for interns and starting out, and so I waitressed at night and I bartended on the weekends, and I thought, like, this isn't exactly what I thought I would be doing when I graduated from college, but a couple months in, they hired me full-time. And so I think you just got to look at creative ways to apply yourself and don't compromise. When you want to get something and you want to do something, go do it and work for it.
That's great. It's kind of funny because we just had Bill Nye here as a speaker a couple days ago.
Did you?
So,
yeah,
oh,
you did?
I thought it was very ironic that you having your past experience with Bill Nye. He was just here.
That's so fun. I'll have to text him afterwards and say we spoke to the same people.
I saw him from 500 or more feet away, but you can send him a text. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cole, do you have any more questions on that topic?
No, I just wanted to ask how many internships you had, like if you had any internships like before that.
So I think I had 4 total internships. So I started summer after my freshman year, and went back to my hometown and worked for a little local production company. and then, had other various jobs. I then, when I got older in college, and I'm from Michigan, and I went to school in Ohio, and I actually found an internship through one of my professors on Baywatch, the show Baywatch, on their pre-production. So I flew out to LA and lived there for a while and worked on that, and worked on some other movie sets for a little while, and just did very, very different types of internships where I could gain different exposure and different experience. So I did one each summer, and then again after I graduated from college.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's great that you worked, you worked your way up to where you are today. Nothing was really handed to you. You started as a waitress and a bartender. Yeah. I think that's amazing. And then worked towards what you wanted, which is really inspiring.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's a means to an end. I had a full-time job in television, but I needed to pay my rent, and I wanted to live on my own. And so, you just work hard to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Okay, so our next question kind of goes hand in hand with this one because it's also related to your college experience. But we're wondering, since your major was communications, do you feel as though you learned a lot more through your hands-on experience, or do you feel as though you learned a lot within college? Do you think that it's a lot more, you just obtained a lot greater of an understanding of what you wanted to do through the real-world experience?
I do think it's a combination of both. I think what you study in college and the courses you take are so invaluable, and I think it teaches you how to learn and how to work with different groups of people, in group projects and studying courses, and maybe taking some courses you don't love and some courses you do love, because when you get into the real world, there are things in jobs, like, I don't love doing budgets and Excel spreadsheets, but I do them, but I also love working on client creative work, right? So I think it teaches you that you have to be a well-rounded person, but also, the real world, again, I think you have to be hungry, and you have to always be learning throughout your career. I think particularly, in looking at both of your backgrounds, you're in marketing and media and entertainment and PR. The world is changing so fast. There might be another social media platform or another way to advertise or another technology popping up tomorrow, and you have to be able to learn about it and learn how to apply that, not only to your skills, but if you're working with clients or you're working with a brand, how do you strategically apply that? So I think it's both, but I think that the college courses you take and the groups that you work with give you such a good foundation. And, it learns you how to deal with people. I think any job that you take is a people business, because you're working with others and you're dependent on others, and you don't have to like those people, but you have to learn how to work with them, and negotiate and solve problems and set clear expectations and things like that. So does that answer your question?
Yes, definitely. And just kind of stemming off of that, just for something, an example or something, what do you feel is something that you learned on the job or you learned throughout your career that you never thought that you would be learning or doing? Is there anything that people threw you into a situation and you just had to jump up and handle it?
Yeah, I think that, that's a good question. I do think, let me think here. There's always problem solving on the fly. I'm trying to think of a good example for you. But, maybe something didn't go as planned, or there's a PR issue that arose, right, where I don't think you deal with real world things like that necessarily in college, but how do you keep a level head, communicate appropriately, and try to help mitigate situations. I think the other thing is, I think when you it's being a well-rounded person. Like, I never thought necessarily that I would be learning about all the finances in a company, right, and how companies work, and looking at all the budgets and things like that. So again, I think that I'm just hungry to learn more, and it helps me better in my job, knowing how the finance team works or knowing how the legal team works and how that implicates my role.
Definitely, because everything has an impact. Every sector of a business has an impact on the other.
Yeah, and you realize that you have to rely on all of those experts. Like, having a group of people that are very diverse experts, you're much better at your job as a whole when you work as a team. One of my coworkers was doing a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and she had this great quote that I think oftentimes people feel like they work better alone, right? And the quote was something like, "You may run faster when you work alone, but you run farther when you work together." And I just thought that was a really good quote and lesson to learn for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I guess we'll move on to our next question.
Sure.
This is something that I've kind of taken notice of throughout classes that I've taken here at Delaware, just in general, a lot of culture classes. But right now, in today's time, we have 4 different major generations that are dominating the workforce. So we have the traditionalists, the baby boomers, Generation X, and millennials, or any other names that you know any of those by. And focusing specifically in the digital world, because you're more digital media, do you find that this wide array of talents and ages and generations is supplementing the workforce, or do you think that it's causing more dissonance?
I think it's extremely beneficial. I think the one thing that every generation, it's so interesting how, particularly because I work in marketing, like, everybody has a label, which I don't know about that. But I mean, I think that the most important thing, and I think I'm repeating myself a little bit, but we all learn from each other's expertise, right? Again, we're better because if someone is a baby boomer is working on a marketing initiative with someone who's a millennial, like, the millennial may be like a digital native and teaching the other person how to use Snapchat or whatever it is, but that other person has so much knowledge and history of the marketing world and the marketing space that everybody's got to be open to learning from each other. And I think it absolutely is beneficial to have multi-generations in the workforce. But you got to be open to learning from each other. And I think one thing that we foster here in our company is a good idea can come from anywhere. It's not a title. It's everybody contributes. It doesn't matter if, our receptionist, she's exposed to digital media all the time, right? If she has a great idea, great. It doesn't matter that we listen to all of that.
Great. And trying to think if I have any follow-up questions, because this is a topic that I think is very interesting, because there's never really been a point in time where we have such different generations in the same workforce.
I mean, I do. Oh, go ahead. I think the thing that may differ are expectations on flexibility in the workforce, or, it depends on what type of company you go to, because we are a digital company and we are so mobile and all of our clients work from everywhere. There may be a difference in expectations by generation of just depending on how you've grown up in the workplace. And I think so much of I read a stat that over 50% of the workforce is going to be freelance by 2020, and I think that's a very different world than we lived in than probably our grandparents who had the same job for 50 years, right? So I think workplace dynamics are maybe changing more than the thought processes in the work.
Yeah, definitely.
I do think it is, and I think all people like this, but it's everybody needs to have the same expectations of working hard and, you know, working for the next position and doing the job. And, you know, I think it's up to the company to set those expectations, the values of the company, the culture of the company, and how people work and advance in their careers.
Yeah, because there's benefits to each, you know, level of just experience. So like you're saying, I'm sure there's someone who, like me, could come into a company and know a lot about the digital world and all of that, but then there's someone who's worked in the company forever who'd probably know way more than someone who new and fresh would. So it's nice to hear that it's working in unison and together.
Yeah, it's like, yes, it's like putting the pieces of the puzzle together because everybody contributes something.
Excellent. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Nicole, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm glad that you were talking about how different generations have different expectations. That actually does follow to our next question. From your previous experiences, what changes can you predict will occur in the business area of web, multimedia, and TV production? And also to follow up.
I wish I could. Yeah, I wish I knew. You know, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. I think the only thing that I can predict is that it's going to be unpredictable, which is kind of a non-answer. But, I mean, even since I've been in the workforce for 20-some years, you know, I mean, I never thought I'd be doing today what I did when I learned in college, right? And, I mean, I always talk about how, particularly in marketing and advertising, it is so much harder today than it was 30 years ago, right? I mean, people set their marketing plans for a year. They knew what they were going to spend on TV and print and radio, right? And it was a one-way communication. Now, everybody's a marketer, and, you know, brands really need to look at, they're just one voice in the sea of everybody contributing to their marketing plan or their advertising, because everybody has a voice. And you have to navigate all of the technologies and the channels that are out there. And I think it's kind of what I said is you have to love what you're doing and kind of be a student of your industry and be hungry for knowledge and be opening to trying things. I think none of us like to fail, right? But we always say things are happening so quickly. You have to try and fail fast. Some things will succeed, some things will fail. Cut your losses, try the next thing, right? And it's okay to admit it, and it's okay to say that didn't work, but just, you know, you have to go in with eyes wide open, trying new things. And, you know, we're always dealing like what's the next phone that's coming out, or what's the next, you know, social network, or, you know, brands come to us saying, I want to be on Snapchat, or I want to be on Pinterest. And it's like, well, why do you want to do that? Just because it's the fad of the moment doesn't mean that that's right for your brand. And we need to navigate how you do that and what the consumer experience is, and is it adding value, and all those different things. So, I mean, I think the next few years with kind of the Internet of Things, and it's going to be so different. I mean, smart cars, and I mean, robots are making pizzas as they're driving down the road. And, you know, I don't know if you have an Alexa or a Google Home or anything like that, but like we're all going to be so automated, and it's going to be so, I mean, technology is already so ingrained in our lives, but I think we don't even know this is going to look old in the next couple of years. You know, it's just going to be everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how do you figure that out? And I think it's hard for a lot of brands to figure that out. Like, how am I going to communicate with a smart refrigerator, or, you know, how am I going to integrate with all of those things? I don't know. Are you learning about some of that in school, and how technology is changing so rapidly?
I believe we're learning that every day, because every day there's always something new that pops up on our phone, like this new app came out, download it. And first of all, like when Snapchat came, half of us had it, half of us didn't. And then all of a sudden now businesses are using it. We can watch TV shows. We can read our magazines on Snapchat now. And
Yeah.
every company that's coming out is trying to evolve. I remember when, what was that app? I don't even remember that. The video one.
Oh, Vine?
There you go, Vine. When that came
They're out
out,
of it. Yeah, yeah.
no one heard of it ever since.
I love Vine.
Yeah.
I love Vine.
Yeah, so again, I think it's just you don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's what's so exciting about this industry. It also can be scary too, and you know, one thing, our company, we're a digital agency, and we produce like digital loyalty programs and promotions and a lot of direct response digital marketing work. You know, we make apps and loyalty apps and things like that, but you can't have the same business model you did 18 years ago when we started, right? If you do, our founder used to say, someone's going to come along and put you out of business, and it might as well be yourself.
I think you got cut out, Jen. I can't hear you.
Kind of a thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I cut out? Or?
Yeah, I was cut out for a
Can
little
you hear
bit.
me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, you know, you always have to keep kind of reinventing yourself and understanding where the market is going, so you're not really left behind in that.
Yeah, I feel like that's so important because, like Nicole was saying, like even Snapchat became such a platform for marketing. I see so many like advertisements, and you can read articles, and you're just so exposed to so much. So if a company isn't adjusting to what the new hit thing is, they're, like you said, they're going to fall behind.
That's right. Yeah.
And just to follow up on that question, I know we're kind of running almost out of time, but we still got a couple minutes left. We were wondering how you're preparing Hello World for these changes and how you're preparing them for what the next best thing might be.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we have a whole product and innovation group. We have a really kind of methodical innovation process because we build a lot of the technology here, or we build and integrate with other platforms. And so we kind of once a quarter, we go through, and ideas can come from anywhere in the company, our clients, our salespeople, our legal team, whatever it is, and we kind of have innovation meetings and vote on what we believe we should go to market with. Our product team vets them out. They do market research. It's all very quick, though, right? Because you can't study something for a year and then it may be gone by then, right? So we look at, is it tweaking a piece of technology that we already have that we're offering to brands, or is it building something new? Do we build it or do we partner? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? You can. Okay. Sometimes our Skype kind of fluctuates.
Yeah.
So, and then we have a whole engineering team that we call it agile. We have agile development processes where we're releasing things all the time. So, you know, we pivot very quickly based on market trends, based on what our clients, the brands that we work with, are asking for, and then internal ideas as well. So we've really put a process in place to make sure that we're getting the best ideas out there. Does that answer your question?
That answers my questions perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, good.
I wasn't
sure.
Always have a bunch of research like so quick and so fast, but now we know.
Yeah.
Also, Corey, do you want to add anything?
No, I think we covered all of those questions really well.
Okay.
So we're going to move over to Jen's questions. So I know first question is, what does brand loyalty mean to you as a consumer? We had Reese Johnson from Missouri, from the University of Missouri, who volunteered for this. So Reese, you want to add?
Hello, Reese.
Hi,
Hey,
Reese.
Jen, can you hear me all right?
I can, thanks.
Perfect. I thought this was a really interesting question, especially in light of the work that you do, and to start off the questions that you had for us. And there's kind of three things that really brand loyalty to me boils down to. And I think the first thing, if I'm going to be loyal to a brand, and when I think of that for what it means to me in that brand, I want to know that the brand is loyal to me as well, that it's not just a transaction of services or that I get a benefit and I pay them money, but that it really feels like the brand works for me or at least works with me, and that there's a partnership mentality and piece of that that I feel like they're owning up to a part of a relationship, and that it's something that's mutually beneficial, and that the ultimate desire isn't just that transaction, but it's progressive growth together for a long-term relationship. The second thing I think for brand loyalty to be important to the person is that it's got to be integral to your day-to-day life. When I think of the products that I'm most loyal to, they're the products that I think I can't live without those. And I think that that dependence creates a sense of loyalty for a lot of consumers, and I know definitely for me. But I think the third thing is an important distinction to make, that yes, it needs to be integral, but I think there's a big difference between brand loyalty and brand captivity. And I think that consumer has to feel positive about the relationship, and it can't be something that they feel like they're trapped into. And a lot of companies talk about their retention rates, and I think they equate that to loyalty, but I don't always think that those are positive correlations. And the example that I kind of think about is Apple. Apple's a great company. A lot of millennials love Apple. They're clearly doing things right. I've had Apple phone for probably 4 or 5 years, but it's not necessarily because I'm really loyal to the brand, but I kind of feel trapped into their products because the switching cost would be so high for me to move over.
Right.
But if someone could give me a product that would reduce those switching costs, I would be really interested to move. But at other companies like REI, or for me, I love cooking and food, Weber Grills, those aren't really high switching costs, but they've built the partnership and relationship with me.
Yeah, that's great. You know, it's interesting that you say that. I recently got a Google Home for my home, but I have Apple devices. And I can't integrate my music into the Google Home because it's, you know, I have to use Google, whatever, YouTube Music or whatever that is. And I'm like, well, that's a bummer. So I can't tie my iTunes into it. So that's it. I mean, I think a lot of that is being worked out between brands right now. So thank you for that answer. That was great.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Reese. I know we had Nicholas Ryland from the University of Northridge who wanted to answer this question as well. I don't know if he's on call with us. Nick, are you on?
Is he? I don't think he's
Maybe
here.
not.
So, yeah, if he wants to, if he joins on later, he can tell us that he wants to chime in on that. But we'll just move on from there. Our next question will go to Lauren Alverman from the University of Delaware with me. And the question is, are there any brands, companies, or products that you are loyal to? And if so, why? Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Ooh.
Oh, I can't hear Lauren.
Enable your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I would have just kept going. So, okay. So thanks for talking to us today, Jen. I really appreciate it. Everything's been really interesting so far. I'm also a marketing student, and so I really like this question. I chose an online platform and then a physical store. So my first one is Amazon. I just, like, their app is so easy to use, and the fact that I can get anything I want on there, like from clothes to food, is really, really important to me. And the Prime 2-day shipping, I mean, at one point I was living in Southern Oregon in the middle of the Siskiyou Mountains where, like, I barely got any Wi-Fi, but they would get me whatever I ordered in less than 2 days for free. Now I'm here in Newark, Delaware with Corey, and it's the same thing. So I really enjoy that consistency, how easy everything is to use. And my mom lives on an 8th floor apartment in New York City, and so she can use Amazon Fresh and Amazon Pantry to order stuff right to her door, so she doesn't have to carry things down 3rd Avenue all the time. So I really appreciate that, and I'm always really excited to see what they're coming out with next. And then for the physical store, I don't know if anyone knows this besides Corey, if there's any other East Coasters, but Wawa, have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I know Corey's like, yeah, Wawa. Wawa is like the best store ever. It's like an East Coast, like, just gem. So it's sort of like a convenience store, but it's not. It's more, they have fresh food, anything you would ever need on the run. They have gas that's so cheap. And the reason I have a lot of brand loyalty to it is because not only did I grow up 5 minutes away from one and would go to it like every single week, I was in high school when Hurricane Sandy happened. And then also my senior year of high school, we had like a snow apocalypse, and it snowed. I think we had 23 snow days, and it snowed 2.5 feet one week. And then the next day there was an ice storm. So I was out of power for a week and a half, and my house was like 20 degrees. So it was not fun. But Wawa was open 24 hours. They're the only place with power. So they gave everyone free coffee, and they let everyone come and like charge their phones and their laptops. So like, to me, the fact that like they were open and the employees like were willing to come in really shows a lot to me. And I will always choose Wawa over 7-Eleven and everything else. I love Wawa so much. So yeah, so those are the two. And then I know for the third question was about like digital tools. I would go right back to the Amazon app. So easy to use. Yeah.
That's great. You know, it's funny because we talk about that a lot because we build loyalty programs, right? And it's about, and I think it's not about the just the transactional and like the cost, but it's both in Amazon and Wawa, like it wasn't necessarily about their product, but they are adding value to your life somehow emotionally, right? Or Amazon, I know I love it too because it takes hours out of my shopping on the weekends, right? I just order it at midnight and it shows up and I don't have to go shopping, right? So, I mean, the interesting thing is they have found a way to make life easier for you or to add value or some emotional connection. Like they'll take care of us if we have the power out, which I think is kind of the ultimate goal because but it's authentic, right? It's not a forced thing.
Exactly.
So, thank you so much, Lauren.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we also have, I noticed, members from Eastern Oregon University wanted to add in on this question. You guys can come on now.
Great.
There we go.
Hey, Jen,
Hi.
hey, my name is Garrett Young. I am a senior here at Eastern Oregon University. And so I'm chiming in on question number 2 a little bit. And
Okay.
a company that I'm pretty fond of and something I'm loyal to would be Google or Microsoft. And the reason why those are two that made an impact on my life, because not only do they give you the tools to be successful in the workforce and just also in life in general, but they also give you the tools to advance yourself as a person. So they give you those tools to get your calendar straight. They give you those tools to go out and market with other companies. You know, I saw that Microsoft is having a workshop soon on their campus in Redmond, and which is my home area, and they're working with people who are willing to go there and just offer their time and to give them more advice on how to be a good business professional. And so
That's great.
I don't see that from a lot of companies, and that's why they have a lot of buy-in from me and why I'm willing to continue to buy their product and work with them.
That's great. Thank you. Are you from Seattle originally? Is that where?
I live in Seattle for my junior and senior year of high
Okay.
school, but I'm from Indiana. That's my hometown. I like to call
Oh,
it.
good. I lived in Seattle for a long time. That's a beautiful area.
Yes, man. I love it. You got to go to Pike Place every time you're there.
That's right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, Nicole, you'll take the next question.
All right. Thank you again, you guys, for question 2. Also, for question number 3, the question was, are there any digital tools, apps, text messages, coupons, etc., that you use from brands to help you with your everyday life? I know Lauren chimed in on question number 3. We also do have Michael Adams, who also wanted to take this question as well. Michael, are you on and ready?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Jen. My name is Michael Adams. I actually do live in Seattle, Washington. I just graduated from University of Washington Business School and Marketing. I saw that you were Bill Nye, so I know you know Seattle very well. So a lot of things have been focused on about how certain aspects of their lives they use it. People talked about like social media, people talked about with food. I'm just going to focus on travel. I was looking at my apps, and I don't use any apps necessarily for coupons, but in Seattle I always use like One Bus Away and Trip Planner to figure out when the public transit's coming. I also use Lyft and Uber all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm loyal to those things because they help me get what I need. That being said, when I'm traveling, I'm very curious and I'm always constantly learning. So I use an app called Udemy to take online classes, and I'm studying AWS right now to get certified. And then I also use things like Audible and TechCrunch and Wired, and I'm always on my phone using it. But for me, I think that I'm really loyal to brands that create products and services that are reliable and that help me in my everyday life. You know, whether that's Alexa and ordering something that I need, or playing the next song I need, or whether it's getting to class on time.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting that you said you use both Lyft and Uber. You don't care which brand it is, or do you just use both of them?
I use both of them, and I use them to figure out which one's going to be cheaper. So I check the tool.
You're price shopping.
Yeah. So I'm just I'm very conservative with my funds. I just graduated, you know.
Yeah.
So I use both the apps, and to be honest, both drivers drive for both companies, so I don't feel that I'm disloyal to the brand by helping both of them.
Oh, that's interesting. Good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen.
And just to add in one more thing, I know for me personally, like even the most minor, mundane things, there's an app for. So one that I've recently become absolutely dependent on in my whole life is Venmo, because it's called Venmo, and you can send money to someone. So let's say me and my roommate go get breakfast, and she pays, I Venmo her $8, and it's literally removed cash money from my life. I don't remember the last time I kept real money on me because Venmo, and it's the most minor thing, but it's really altered my life because I did used to always have cash on me at all times, no matter what. But now, if you don't have cash, you can just Venmo someone. It's weird, but it's like.
Do you use any like Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or anything like that, where you have your credit cards loaded onto your phone and you just hit them at the store? Or?
I don't have those. I use like I'm a Wells Fargo bank. I use my bank account app sometimes, but for the most part, it's the only one I've ever really used. And I know even apps like Snapchat now, you can send money through Snapchat, and you can send money through Facebook. Like everyone's trying to compete, but I think Venmo's the one right now that's definitely at the top of a lot of people's lists. That was just a little addition.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So our next question, we have Kim Nguyen of Brandeis University. So you can come on now, and the question is, how do you go about finding new career opportunities such as LinkedIn, Glassdoor, networking, Facebook jobs, etc.?
Well, hi. Thanks so much for joining us today. I took this question out to a bunch of students here at Brandeis to kind of get a consensus of what we all use. We came up with some obvious ones like Google, Glassdoor, Indeed, but we all kind of were on one side about the networking, and networking is probably the strongest for us, and that could mean anything from info sessions at the schools to alumni, reaching out to our alumni, to using our LinkedIn, to even like talking to our professors about, you know, this is where I want to go in my job, what kind of other opportunities are available. And then some of us kind of throw it out like, I wish there was a job that did this. You know, they'll have some entrepreneurial ideas, and people will be like, you know, there isn't something doing that, but this company over here is working on something similar. You might want to check them out. So company websites, using like the website job boards. I like it when the job boards have something that can like preload my experience in, and then it just shoots me emails when there's openings. That is very helpful because I'm not always looking on a job board or looking for things. So that's really helpful. But I think the best for all of us that I talked to was networking, because we get that immediate response, or we get to get some response at all, because sometimes when you apply for jobs or look at things, you're not really sure what they're asking you or requiring for a job, and you put your resume in there, you don't hear anything back, so you're not getting any feedback.
Right. That's great. And I would say after you graduate too, I think that alumni network is so important. I think, you know, you can apply for jobs, but I think it's all in who you know as well and how you use those connections. And, you know, I would say ask for informational interviews with people. You know, I talk to college students all the time who, you know, just call up and say, hey, I'm a friend of a friend, or I went to Miami University, or things like that. And that's how I got a lot of my jobs, by networking, either if it was through my sorority or an organization or my college. So keep doing that. That's great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Nicole, do you want to take the next one?
All right, awesome. So on to question number 5. Question number 5 will be answered by Joe Columbia. Question is, what do you look for in an employer? Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So in terms of what I look for in terms of jobs and companies is, first and foremost, I like to know that the company's on a positive trajectory. I like to know that it's doing well. Not necessarily a very popular company, doesn't have to be very well known, but if it is well known for the right reasons, don't want to ever join a company that's not doing the right thing or anything like that. So that's always important to me, and I know my colleagues as well. Another thing is that it's in an industry that I can get passionate about, or it's a product it's something that I could get behind and support. Passion is very, very important. I know that we touched on, you know, you spend the majority of your life, you know, working. So if you're going to be working, you might as well enjoy it and be around people that you like. So that's a very important thing to me as well. The third thing is, you know, I want to be able to support my family, my future family, and myself moving forward. You know, I want to be able to give them the same type of opportunities that I've had growing up, and hopefully more. So financially, of course, money's not everything, but that is definitely a factor that I think can't be ignored. And then the last but not least, certainly, and I think it's more important today than ever before, is culture. I think that, you know, especially millennials consider life-work balance, and while we're willing to go the extra mile, work from home, and, you know, do everything we need to do, I think that, you know, knowing that the place has a good corporate culture, knowing that your opinions can be valued, knowing that you're going to have a life outside of work as well is also important, and could potentially make up for, if you're deciding between two places, could make up for the lack of financial reward that you get. So I do think that culture is a very, very important thing, and underneath the you know, overarching theme of culture, work-life balance, and feeling respected, and, you know, all those sorts of things. So that would be the 4 main things that I think I look for.
That's great. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you.
I agree with him a lot on a lot of those things. I think it's sometimes people immediately think that the money is the most important thing, but if you're not happy where you are, you're not going to be as successful, and you're not going to put in your best effort. I think that that's a lot of really good points you made just now.
Okay, I can show you. So we recently rewrote our cultural values. So we have this on everybody's desk, our team values, and so we wrote things like, you know, we're the ultimate team sport, right? So it's talking about we all work together. We're trailblazers in our field. There are 5 of these, so it's kind of like everything we do. Communication is our oxygen, right? So it's all about communicating well. Let's see what else. It's all about creating impact, and we do the work of champions or none at all, right? So we kind of like how a family has values. I mean, we have work-life balance and cultural things like that and perks, but I think overall it's are we all working towards the same goal? And, you know, this is what we believe in our work. So
that's so important in a workplace to have that, finding there.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to our next question. We have Cody Singer of Eastern Oregon University, so you can sign on now. And the question is, what perks or benefits do you see in an attractive employer?
Well, first off, Corey and Nicole, thank you very much for hosting this conversation. And Jen, thank you again for spending your time with us. We're excited about this conversation and the opportunity to spend some time with you. So I think the very first thing that I think of in terms of what benefits do I find attractive in an employer specifically would be a conversation I have a lot with my colleagues as well as people within the community about how an employer has the potential to support personal and professional goals, including our personal and professional desires, our ambitions, and really our overall success or well-being. I think that's incredibly important. You guys alluded to it earlier about how much of our lives we spend working, just like many of you have already described. A third of it's asleep, right? Which means 2/3 of that, or the majority of our 50 to 60% of our awake time is in the work environment from age 18 to 65 or more or less, just like your story working from age 15. I definitely resonate with that. So I think it's an opportunity for us to really match those cultures. I think in our own culture, how we're transitioning is from the idea of a work-life balance to a work-life integration, where we're developing the things that we're passionate about and we're finding opportunities in order to capitalize on those items and really enjoy the lives that we are spending. If we are working this many hours for our life, it's going to be important that we're actually enjoying what we do and we see the value in exactly what we're doing. So in terms of, again, to wrap up, the benefits I see, I think it's individualistic. It's based on individual employer-employee relationships and what's going to work best for them. So personally, for example, if I were passionate about my health, then a benefit I could receive would be a gym membership or whatever it may be. But that's not going to work for everybody, right? Each one of us has our own personal and professional goals, desires, and ambitions. And if we're able to match the things we're passionate about with the work that we're doing for the rest of our lives, we're able to see some benefits there, and it's a very attractive employee or employer at that point.
Great. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cody. Just to kind of stem off of that, I think something that I know that once I am, because I'm only a sophomore here at the University of Delaware, so when I do enter the workforce, I know that something that I hold very highly is something that I look for in a job is someone that finds something specific about me that they feel would supplement the company. Something personalized. Say they notice that I, on my resume, have experience in such and such, and they want to use that one feature. I think that you'll find a lot more benefits from something that, or a company that you know they acknowledged something personal and specific about you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I would also, when I look for employees, I also look to see their growth rate. I know the current job I'm working at right now has a really good growth rate. Everyone started as a sales rep and now they're store managers and district managers. So I also look for that because that also shows like how they treat their employees and how they're able to, and how they promote as well.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right. And then just before we leave number 6, I just wanted to see if anyone else wanted to answer this question before we move on to question number 7. Anybody wants to come on in? All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 7. Number 7 will be answered by Kataki Ogeo of Fordham University. Sorry if I chopped your name a little bit. The question is, what makes you different personally than the previous generation?
Hi everyone, I'm Kate Key from Fordham University. I'm using Joe's laptop, so we're sitting and watching this together. Thank you so much, Nicole, Corey, and Jen. It was great to listen to you guys. I'm so glad I'm involved in this. I'm going to pick up from the different things that everybody spoke earlier. I think when everybody mentioned passion, I know Cody mentioned passion. Joe was talking about how he would really want to be in a company that he kind of feels with the product, he kind of feels for the entire idea or the picture of the organization. I think few things about millennials in this context. The first one would be adaptability, saying the roles that millennials are taking up today, the job offers or the responsibilities, they're not bound as much by education. They're driven by passion. If there's some job or some company that I'm interested in, I'm going to go for it with all my might, you know.
Yeah.
They're not the kind of people who will say, nah, I've never really studied this. I don't know if I should do this role. They'll say, you know what, let's learn. And that's, I think, what Jen mentioned when she said, you know, that we learn by doing. I think that's one big thing that they really just want to do stuff that they like to do, and which also means that they're faster to respond to technology, faster to learn, always eager. And yeah, that this kind of, again, the next thing about millennials that I think is different from the previous generations is that they're eager and they're curious. They want to know what's happening, you know. If they're at a workplace, they're not going to be the people who say, hey, I come here, I do my job, I sign my timesheet, and I get out of here and take my money.
Right.
If they see something, they want to know more about it. If they don't like something, they want to speak up against it. They want to contribute in whichever way possible. They have that affinity towards the product, they have that affinity towards the company, and they believe that if they're spending so much of their time there, they want to make an impact. They want to make some change. So that kind of curiosity is different. It's like a whole new level of involvement in whatever they're doing. So that's, again, a millennial thing, I think. The third thing I think that's kind of stands out about millennials is that they're extremely practical and sort of really informal when it comes to work. I mean, they're not going to be disrespecting people or not following rules, but they're okay to instant messaging. They're okay if you turn up wearing a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. You know, they respect people for their work. They admire people who are good at what they do. They sort of respect intelligence. And if you have all of that, then millennials are going to be with you. They will support you in the ideas that you suggest. They will come up to you and honestly tell you if you're doing something that they don't like, and which is great, right? Like, that's what a workplace should be. So yeah, I think these are the few qualities that kind of differentiate a millennial presence in a workplace.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right.
You know, just to add to that too, I would say, you know, I always look at if I'm interviewing people or, you know, talking to my managers who are interviewing people, I think you're right that, I mean, if you have two candidates, and I'm saying we all should apply ourselves and be very smart, but if one has like tons of credentials and work experience and is valedictorian of their class, and the other one does have similar skills but maybe less experience, I always say the character of the person and the passion. I will hire over character over credentials any day, right? As long as you know that person is smart and they're going to apply themselves and they want to learn, I think you have to have that both, right? You have to be willing and accepting and a good person, right? So I always look at both of those things.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if we have time to do any more, but just kind of add on to that, I think the passion thing is a great aspect of the millennials right now. I know a lot of people who genuinely do not care about whether they're making like a lot of money or whether, you know, they have a big house or apartment or anything. They want to do something that truly matters and like makes a difference and will be something that will allow a greater basis for our future. So yeah, just a little 2 cents.
Yeah, great. Good. Thank you so much for everybody answering these questions.
Yes,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you everyone for participating. All right,
Yes, this has been wonderful.
I know this has been awesome. I'm so glad we did this. Also, thank you, Jen, for taking your time to join in one of our conference calls. This is amazing. And also thank you for your contributions. I really enjoyed your feedback and loved hearing like how you made it after graduation. I also became a server also right now. I was, and then now I'm in sales, but completely understand my life. That was very hectic. And then
Good. Well, let me know if I can. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let me know if I can be of any further help or if any other questions come up. Feel free to contact me. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Okay.
We're going to ask people to start coming on and say goodbye. Give your waves to Jen. We can do 6 at a time. So.
Oh, yay.
Come on,
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Jen. Learned so much.
Thank you. Thanks,
All right.
Corey and Nicole. This has been great.
Thank you so much for all of your contributions.
Sure. No problem. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.